Welcome to the Key Players Podcast. Today, you'll hear from Mike Farley, one of the best pool designers there is. With over 35 years of experience, Mike has designed some amazing backyards in the Dallas Fort Worth area. If you'd like to see some of his work, he has an Instagram, a YouTube, and a podcast helping homeowners imagine what they could do to their own backyard. His social medias are linked in the description below. If you're thinking about building a pool, this podcast will help make that process a little bit easier. Mike, thanks for coming on. I'm super excited about this podcast in particular because you work with Claffey Pools, who this is my hometown, South Lake, Westlake, surrounding cities. And I mean, a lot of the pools that I got to enjoy growing up, you designed.
Yes,
So you've been, obviously, how I see you and how a lot of other people see you, the best pool designer in the DFW Metroplex, if not even in Texas or further out and beyond. So, I mean, anytime I'm going into a home, showing it for a buyer, we're going and listing a home, no matter the price point, and it's a Claffey pool, it's like a huge highlight for us. Like, we emphasize it's a Claffey pool. And so for me, I mean, I'm curious, how did that become? Like, how did you become Claffey's like pool designer specifically?
So Claffey has like 10 designers on staff.
Got it.
Okay, so I basically have a design firm, Farley Pool Designs, which I do design work, and Claffey does almost all my installations. But we started together 17 years ago, and basically I shop pool builders all the time. And what I'm trying to find with pool builders is somebody that does a quality product and they do it at a good price.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so there's some small companies that do really, really great work in the Metroplex, but they can't control the great price because they only do 6-7 pools a year. They don't have a capability of volume. Where Claffey is very unique in the pool industry is they do volume and they do very high quality work. So, I mean, we got projects that are 7 figures, down to projects that are, $20,000 in cost. And so most companies don't have that bandwidth to deal with that whole, gamut of work. So they also do remodel, which is another unique situation when you're dealing with a company that does a lot of volume and a high quality situation. So that we have teamed up and worked together, like I said, for a long period of time because they build very closely to the set of specifications that I come up with my clients for. So good quality, good price. It's a good match.
Yeah. I'm curious. So if a homeowner, because a lot of the people watching it, they're going to be homeowners or they're going to be agents. And if a homeowner wanted to use you, they don't have to technically go with Claffey.
So what happens is I work for homeowners.
Yes.
Okay. So a homeowner hires me. So I have 2 services. I do consultations and then I do design. 2D, 3D model it, write a set of specifications, pick materials, all the aspects of it. So in that process, they've paid me for this service. They own the design.
Yes.
What happens with most people, they don't know because they've never built a pool before, is they just call the pool company. And the pool company comes out and does a design for it. And they don't charge them to do that, but the design is their property, not the homeowner's property. So they don't have the legal right to take that design and then shop it. Okay. Some people do it. It's very unethical. But they do because a lot of times pool builders encourage it. Hey, just go get a design from so-and-so and, then I'll give you a bid on it. And they've never built a pool before. They're like, oh, I guess that's how it works here. So with them paying me, yes, then they can take it and shop it. The reason I work with Claffey on almost all the projects is because they're the best deal when you get down to apples when everybody's bidding the same set of specifications.
Yeah. So that's what, any of my clients, whether it's like a roofer or any kind of like a designer coming to design their home, they're going to probably talk to 2, 3, 4 people. And so I guess a lot of that comes down to their decision-making on price when they're like, oh, they're giving me this price.
So you talk to 2 to 3 people because you don't know how to go through the process. Okay, so some people come to me, they don't talk to 2 or 3 designers because there's not 2 or 3 designers in the Metroplex to talk to. It's a very small amount of people that do it. But the reason someone would come to me instead of calling 2 or 3 people is because I basically have worked in the industry 35 years. And so I can tell them the pro and the con and the cost of all the features they're thinking about. And I'm going to bring up things that they don't even have on their wish list. Because if you call 2 or 3 people, what happens is they don't want their number to get too high. Okay, so they're not going to, usually most pool companies, the people that come out are what I call an order taker. You're going to tell them what you want. They're going to give you that back. They don't expand on it, because if they expand on it versus the other 2 don't, then their bid's higher. So they're not going to get the job. So that's their fear in the whole thing, is they're all about selling something. Okay, my job is about helping people figure out what's best for them. I could care less, who they hire, quite honestly, if they hired a good company. But if you get a set of specifications, then everybody's on the same plane.
So you're almost like a real estate agent, but for pool companies. You have their back to at least kind of vet out what's a good opportunity and where you're kind of getting.
Sure, my job is to give them information so they can make an educated decision.
Exactly.
Okay, so most people, they don't have that information, so all they know is what my neighbor told me.
Yeah.
Okay, so like we were talking before we got on air, salt systems. Everybody says, I want a salt system. Why do you want a salt system? Because my neighbor's got a salt system. He said it's a good idea. And so I'm like, well, here's the pros of it. There are some definite pros, and here's the cons, and here's the costs. And here's an alternative, and the pros and the cons and the costs of that. And everybody's like, oh, well, I don't want a salt system. There's a lot of disadvantages to that, but they didn't know that until I gave them the information. So now you made an educated decision. Hey, ozone and minerals are better than a salt system.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, when someone's having a vision for like a pool that they're just like, this is my blank backyard, there's no pool there, I have a vision of what could go there, what's kind of a simplified way of saying, like, this is my process of taking their vision and making it like a reality? How do you go about that?
Sure. So I've never done 2 pools the same in 35 years. Okay. So everybody has, and some people are like, well, I'm not sure what I want. Everybody knows what they want. They can't articulate it. Okay. So my job is through photographs and questions, is just to basically figure out, okay, here's the unique features that they want with their particular projects. The other thing that comes into play is the architecture of their home. Okay, so we want to design something in most cases that fits with the architecture in the home. Now, there are the people that are like, hey, I want to feel like I'm in Alaska or Cabo or something like that. I don't want to feel like I'm here. I don't want it to match the architecture. I want to, I want Maui in my backyard. So we can do all those things, but most people want it to blend with the architecture. Then they have to work with their yard, and every yard's different. We've got different slopes, drainage, utilities, easements, all these different things we have to work with. And so my job is to get all those 3 things together, their dreams, their site, their architecture, and basically then come up with a concept that meets all and solves the problems. So in most places, there's a problem associated with the property. I don't have privacy from these neighbors that I have. I've got this drainage problem. I've got this hillside that we can't work on, and, it's too steep to, most people say you can't put a pool there, which I've built a number of pools in those yards that nobody could build a pool in.
Yeah.
But that's the fun, is then to solve all the problems, even the problems they don't even know that they have.
Yeah.
My job's to look at it and figure out the challenges and then come back with a solution. And most of the time when I come back with a solution, well, the first thing I do I should step back a second. The first thing I do is, after we talk about everything, I make a shopping list. Okay, here's what you wanted, and here's what it's going to cost on your property to do these things. And what happens is people are like, oh, well, that's a great deal. Let's do 3 of those instead of 2. And, I didn't know that cost that much money. That's stupid money. Like I had a lady yesterday, it's like, I want a lazy river. And I said, well, to add a lazy river to a typical pool adds $400,000 in cost. And she's like, well, I've got a lot of other things I could do with $400,000. And I said, most people, that's the case. That's why we don't build a whole lot of lazy rivers. But you basically, when you build a lazy river, you build 3 pools. You got a pool that's the outer part of the river. You got the pool that's the inner part of the river, the island, and then you got the other pool that's not the river part. So you're building 3 pools. So, and the pumps and the electrical hookup, you have to upgrade the transformer to the house, because electrical service is too small. I mean, we need 200 amps just for a lazy river. But these are things people don't know. They just looked at a pretty picture. They went to Cabo on their vacation. Hey, lazy river's cool. Let's do one. And so, but once they get educated information, these are the price of all these points, then they can decide which ones that we want to proceed with before we start a design. So that's one of the ways that help people be efficient with their time, because otherwise you can spend months designing something and then roll it out in front of a contractor and get a price. And he's like, oh, well, it's $750,000. And you're like, oh, I want to spend 300. Well, now that set of drawings lines a bird cage. It's worthless.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's bring reality into the project at the very beginning. And that's one of the things I'm really unique about, is because most people can't figure all that out. They don't know what things cost. There's a lot of awesome architects that design awesome work. They have no earthly idea what they're designing is the cost in the particular site. So I think that's real important. So we do that first. Now we get an approved shopping list, and now we create the dream. Okay, we create the 2D, and we put it in a 3D model so they can actually see it, and it's accurate to about an inch. So you can sit in your living room at your chair and look out the window and be like, that's exactly what it looks like. And later when they build it, people are always like, it's exactly like it looked like. I didn't think it would be that exact. And I was like, I said an inch. I mean, that's pretty accurate. So anyway, so it's a cool process that we take people through. One of the things that's helpful is, again, in saving time, because we bring money in the beginning. I'm not doing 7 and 8 revisions for people. Usually I can do a design and then there might be one slight revision and people are like, you nailed it. You know, how did you get in my head and figure all this out? But I ask tons of questions. I have people look at lots of photographs. So because I've made mistakes over the years, somebody says, I want modern. Well, modern means this to me. Well, modern maybe see something totally different to them. And so let's agree on what your definition of modern is so I can bring that to you.
That rendering's got to be huge now using that technology, because at least you can see it before you actually build it. And
it's so helpful. We talk on, I have a podcast. And so my partner and I both were in the pool industry 30 plus years ago. And so go back 20 years and there was no 3D modeling. So we would draw things and we put colored pencil and markers on it. And they'd nod their heads and be like, oh, that looks kind of nice. And usually one of them had an idea, but the other of the couple had no earthly idea what we were talking about. And they just sat there and nod their heads. And then we'd start building stuff and people would be like, whoa, that's really cool. I didn't understand that, which is what you hoped, not the, whoa, that's awful. I didn't understand that. So.
Yeah, that's got to be a really very helpful. Now, I really do appreciate you doing social media, because you do before and afters, which I think those are the best posts you could have, because you see some lots where, I mean, we see them with new builds because they don't put a pool in,
right? And
it's just grass. And you just think, okay, you can put a pool there. It's kind of hard to see the vision. But when you see it before and after, it looks like a completely different back. The back of the house looks completely different. It's like a whole different vibe. So I really do love that you do social media. And I kind of wish other vendors and other people in other industries start doing it as well. Because at least with me as an agent, I have something, because I've done it already in the past few weeks where we look at a lot and it's blank. And I bring up your Instagram and I'm like, here's before, here's after. You don't have to do it this crazy outdone, but you could do something very similar.
Yeah.
So
you can create a neat environment. So yeah, we do it on Instagram and YouTube.
Okay.
YouTube, we do time lapse for the whole thing. So people get to see how all the pieces go together. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
One of the things that we do for projects that we work on.
All right, so this is going to be a tough question to answer, and I think it's tough for anybody in any industry. But if you were to look at a standard pool with a hot tub that isn't your extravagant, crazy backyard, crazy pool, just a standard pool, standard hot tub, at what price point? Because COVID obviously inflated everything. Prices went up for a lot, especially pools. What's like a ballpark price that you could give somebody for a standard pool, hot tub, if they're just not wanting to go crazy, but they want a pool in their backyard?
So there's so many caveats we have to, of course, bring into play. So I'm just going to mention a couple: access, the soil type that you're dealing with, your utilities. Those are all things, the grade of the yard. But to give you an answer, pool spa combination with a nice small water feature, average size pool, standard materials, good access, good soil, you're probably going to start $100,000 now. So when I started 35 years ago, it was 20 for that same thing. But, everything's gone up in 35 years.
Well, you made a point earlier before this podcast started that kind of shocked me a little bit. So a lot of people, like, they know Claffey, they see who Claffey is. Now that they hear all these ballpark prices, I've heard people won't even call like the best pool builders because they think it's going to be too expensive. I know that sounds ridiculous, but what you said earlier about Claffey, it makes it more of a selling point for me, at least when someone's wanting to build a pool. Talk to Claffey, at least if you're going to talk to anybody.
So the main advantage that people don't understand is there's a couple different things. When you go to get, a car, okay, you go down to the car lot and you look at one dealer and you look at the next dealer and you look at the next dealer. The car is the same. It's the same set of specifications. It's the same wheels. It's the same stereo package. It's all the same. People think pools are like that. It's not like that at all. Okay, you're going to build something in the backyard. Okay, and it's custom, and there's hundreds of choices to make. So what Claffey did years ago is they decided we want to build a good product, and so we're not going to cut corners. So me as a designer, I have a certain set of specifications with my steel in the pool and the gunite or shotcrete that I'm going to use and the masonry that I'm using, the equipment that I'm using. I have all these. Plumbing's a huge deal that most people don't understand at all. And these are all things that how I want it done. And some of it's actually industry standard. These are things you have to do. Okay. And there's people that don't follow those because in the state of Texas, there's no licensing for pool building. You want to start a pool company tomorrow? Have at it. You can start a pool company.
That's scary.
That's real
You
scary.
don't want me building a pool.
Well, and that's what happened in COVID. There are so many companies that started during COVID that they're like, "Whoa, people are making a killing at this. I can certainly go build a swimming pool because I used to build decks, or I built, cabanas, or I did concrete work, and I'm going to just go out and I'm going to start building swimming pools." And so they don't know all the things to do. And so Claffey has a very high set of specifications. So when I work with my clients, we make choices. You want to do this, or you want to do this way? You want to do this, or you want to do it this way? I don't care. My job's to make you think about it, make a decision. Then we write a set of specs, and then we get a bid. Claffey gives you a bid. Well, if everybody else bids the same, what I find is almost everybody is the same price or higher than Claffey, because Claffey can buy in volume. They can't. Most of those guys that are building 4 or 5 pools a year, they don't have that buying capability. Versus Claffey can get the best price on just about everything, or the best quality craftsmen to work for them as well.
Okay. Well, this makes me more excited to go out, especially when it comes to a house without a pool, knowing at least Claffey's not the most expensive. They're the best pool company out here. And I don't know, it's going to be a lot helpful for me and my clients. Now, a lot of these homes, and you even have before and afters of pre-existing pool setups in the backyard, that when you look at the pool and the setup it currently is at the current state it's in, completely different setup. It's almost like you lifted the pool too. It's just, I can't even imagine the construction on some of that.
Well, some of them, we blow them up and start over.
Yeah.
I mean, that's most of the ones that I'm involved that they have an existing pool is I'm not going to work with the existing structure.
Yeah.
Most of the time it doesn't meet the client's needs. And if it doesn't meet the client's needs, then why are we going to put a Band-Aid on it and still have problems, and the plumbing might not be good? In a lot of cases, it's just better to blow it up and start over. And so that's what I do a lot of. But you can remodel pools as well. So
if you were to have okay, let's just go back to the standard. If it's a standard pool in the backyard, there's not like crazy elevation or anything. It's just flat, standard pool. It's $100,000 to do a new pool. What's probably an additional charge for demolition on top of that?
So on an average job, it might be, $25,000 to tear an existing pool out. But then what happens is now we can make the pool what you want.
Yeah.
Okay. So a lot of the older ones are diving pools. Okay. They're not recreational depth pools. They don't have a tanning ledge with them or a shallow shelf in it. They've got poor finishes. They've got poor plumbing. I mean, so the hydraulics that Claffey does versus the hydraulics that they did 7 years ago, bigger pipe, sweep 90s, a lot of different things. they actually can save an average homeowner, $1,000 a year on their electric bill. And so, you're better to put a good system in than to repair a bad one. So, and some of it you can't repair. It's just integral to the whole thing. So, and the big thing that I tell people on this is if the pool doesn't function for how you want to function, it's better to tear it out. Or if it's in the totally wrong location, it's better to tear it out.
Yeah.
Okay. If it meets your function and, it's in the right spot, then you might want to, come in and put new tile and coping and plaster on it, redo finishes, add water features, fire features. You can add a spa. You can add, you can shoot a new tanning ledge in. So there's a lot of things you could do to that.
Right. Okay. I mean, if you were to compare an existing pool setup, refinishing everything, say you travertined or did different surface around the whole pool, I mean, is it for a standard pool like 50 grand? Is that like it, or is it
so bare bones? I'm going to put tile, coping. I never use plaster. Always use pebble sheen.
Okay.
It's a much better product. Holds up better. It's smoother. Doesn't stain. Doesn't mottle. All those different things. Plaster is horrible. So I'm going to put pebble sheen in. I'm going to put new coping, new tile on it. That's at least $20,000, bare bones. So if I'm going to come in and do new decks, that might change another $20,000 or $25,000, depending on how much deck area you've got. And then if I'm adding water features and fire features, well, then those are additional costs. So, if you're changing up some of the structural parts of the pool, that's additional costs. So,
okay. Now, my favorite part of this podcast, the trends. What are pools going to nowadays? What are the things that you're putting in most in pools? I know I saw you put a cold tub next to a hot tub on one of your pools.
yes.
I love doing cold tubs, so I'm excited to see that be a trend. At least I don't know if it's a trend, but people are doing it.
I went to the pool show 2 years ago and saw 3 cold plunges. Last year I saw probably 40 cold plunges. Okay, so it's becoming much more of a trend. But the 2 big things are sunken. So the sunken fire pit inside the pool or sunken next to the pool is a really big trend. And it's not necessarily about a fire pit. It's a lot of people want to interact with people in the pool and hang out and socialize, and they don't want to get wet. And so this creates a space that they're integral to the water and they're surrounded by it, and it gives them a feel of interaction with the people that are in the pool. And we're doing a lot of pools that aren't for swimming at all. Okay, these pools are to hang out around. Okay, we want to float, we want to cool off, we want the sound of water. This is a place about peace and tranquility and relaxation. We'd rather die than swim laps in the pool and break a sweat. I mean, no way in the world is that what this is for.
Yeah.
Which is great because a lot of the yards are very small.
Yeah.
And so we want something that's going to look awesome and amazing from inside the house because we're looking at 365. And we just want that sound of water and all those features. So, the sunken fire pit is a big feature. The biggest challenge with it is how do you get the water out of the floor of it if you've sunken it down 3.5 feet?
Yeah.
You have to be able to drain that water out, which if I'm on a hillside, that's no problem. If I'm on a flat lot, that's a big problem. So I hate to say it with sump pumps because sump pumps fail. So anyway, the other thing is a sunken bar. Okay, a swim up bar. We're going to have a cabana that's sunken down, 24, 30, 36, 42 inches down. So, the people in the cabana are eye to eye to people sitting in the bar stools in the pool. That's a very common thing. Again, we want to hang out. We want to relax. We want to have fun. This is not for swimming. Okay. So the word swimming pool, when I got into the industry was what people bought pools for. They swam in them. They, played some games, but, a lot of it's now just a place of, to hang out and cool off and those type of things.
Yeah, I just call them, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I just call them lounge pools. Like anytime we show up, I'm just like, I just call it a lounge pool.
Oh, yeah.
So,
but that's the most popular thing that's going right now. I had somebody that we just recently finished a project for here in Westlake, and it was a tremendous water wall, and it had a really cool fire feature on it. and they decided that they were going to go back to the British Virgin Islands where they were from. And they went to put the house up for sale. The agent walked in and was like, oh, wait, I think I know someone that might be interested. Made a phone call. Somebody came over, walked in the front door and said sold.
Mainly because of the pool.
The pool. They walked in. The pool is the whole center view of all the rooms and everything like that. So it was, but I mean, that's one of the things that's also happening today is people are spending a lot of money on pools, and people are like, well, you're not going to get that money back out. If you build a basic pool, you're going to get 50 cents on the dollar. Okay. But if you build something that's a statement, that basically in a lot of these projects, we're creating an outdoor room. Okay. This is just an extension of your home. We've now increased your square footage by 1,000 square feet. And this is a place that some people live out there more than they do inside their house.
Yeah.
Okay. They cook outside, they sleep outside, they hang out outside. I mean, everything that's associated inside a house now, we have people that want the same capabilities outside.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Because COVID changed the pool industry. That's what changed, is now people want to live outside. There's a term in interior design called biophylitic design.
Yeah.
We're basically trying to bring nature into the home. Okay, well, outside is real easy. We just got to put a living space out there, and we have nature all around us. And so that's where, we do all these things, like people want screens to protect themselves from the shade and the bugs, and they want to be able to go out there and cook and eat and sleep. And I mean, anyway, all the fun.
It's a major highlight. Yeah. I mean, my team and I mean, South Lake, West Lake's kind of our main stomping grounds. And that's like, especially at those higher price point homes, like that's like almost a must.
Yeah. It's totally changed. 9/11 changed the industry as well. Before that, there were no outdoor kitchens. Didn't exist.
Really?
Well, you go back and look at the homes that were built before 99. Okay. No one had an outdoor kitchen. You didn't have big porches. But today, I mean, we've got some projects that we're doing that I've got one right now. There's 3,000 square foot of porch area.
Yeah.
It's a big house, but I mean, that's a huge amount of porch area because people want to live outside.
Okay. So if there was anything that someone wanted to put in a pool that was just crazy, you would advise against it, what are those things? I know you mentioned lazy rivers are like $400,000. So you probably don't want to put a lazy river, but is there anything else? Like are slides?
Oh,
are you pushing
I
slides
like
out?
lazy rivers. So
just for the price point.
well, everything's got a price, but there's certain advantages and disadvantages. So you asked about a slide. So because of COVID, that's changed too. And we don't do a standard fiberglass slide that's attached to the deck ever anymore. So when we do a slide, it's slides on steroids. I mean, people want water parks in their backyard. So we're doing slides that are 35 and 40 feet long in somebody's backyard. And they're like, yeah, we want something really cool. I don't want this little 6 foot tall, 6 foot long thing.
Yeah.
Don't want that. And so everything's getting more elaborate, detailed. So slides are getting bigger. I mean, the ways that we hide them are a lot more interesting with some of these projects. The other thing is, a lot of people are like, well, nobody does the boulders anymore. Well, some people do that too still, but they're really big projects. There are multiple waterfalls. They look like they're in Maui. Excuse me. Sorry. That's something to edit.
I can clip that.
So, but you got all these things. So now we've got people that are like, well, we don't want one tanning ledge. We want 2 tanning ledges because we want a tanning ledge for the kids to hang out on and another one for the adults to hang out on. So, I mean, everything's like, bigger and better. But sometimes the pool's gotten smaller because we also want to live out there. So we've got to have enough room for the kitchen and the living room space. And I need my day bed out there and, all those fun things.
Yeah. No, hey, I'm excited to see what other trends come about. I'm very excited about the cold tubs. I hope those become close to a standard. I doubt they will, but I would like to see more of them.
They're an expensive item because they
How
have to be set up totally separate than a spa. So a lot of people are, can't I put it in the same one? And at this point, it doesn't work, someone will probably figure out a way to make it work. But you have to have a chiller unit just on that. You have to have a heating unit just on that. If you want to heat the pool, it's because it's a totally plumb separate situation. It's not like a standard spa. So it's an expensive feature, but it's for the right person. It's the right thing.
How much do you think it would be?
So you're probably, if you're doing it in conjunction with a pool, you're probably going to add easy $30,000.
It's an expensive cold tub.
That's an expensive cold tub.
Yeah. Is it cold 24/7?
Yeah.
That's a benefit. I mean, you probably want to turn it off during February and
Well, it's basically thermostat controlled.
yeah.
Just like you have a thermostat inside the house.
Yeah.
So the water temperature drops, then it's not doing anything, to continue to chill
Yeah.
the water.
Okay. Well, I'm excited. Definitely learned a lot from this because you're probably going to hear from some of my clients in the future just saying, hey, we got this idea. We want to put a pool in. And at least their idea, knowing that they're not going to be spending outrageous prices for Claffy, they're probably going to be calling Claffy quite a bit because trust me, it's a selling point for us when we're listing a house and it's Claffy built. We emphasize that.
So like I said, there's 10 designers on staff. If you want to talk to me, you should probably reach out to me.
Okay.
Okay. So because if you call Claffy, I don't take leads generally from Claffy.
Got it. So if they were to find you, where can they find you?
So Instagram, it's Farley Designs. YouTube, it's Farley, Mike Farley, ASLA. And then let's see, my website's farleypooldesigns.com. That's probably the best place to start. The other thing is I do have a podcast. The podcast is for homeowners. Okay. It's not for people in the pool industry. It's for homeowners. It's the only one out there like it. So we're basically giving information. Like we did an episode last week on small yards, a couple weeks ago. Last week was on privacy. So we're hitting all kinds of things and giving homeowners ideas on suggestions to look. So that's Poolside Perspective Podcast on any of your platforms that you want to check out.
Okay. I've enjoyed it. I've listened to a few of them, so I've learned a lot from them. I'll probably start listening to more of them. But yeah, Mike, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming out and hopping on the Key Players podcast.
Well, certainly. Thank you for the opportunity and glad to serve any way I can.
Awesome. Right on. Think that was good?
Yeah.
What'd you think?
No, I thought it went well.
All right. Well, I'll get that thing edited probably within the next few days. And I'm just going to bite-sized piece them for 15, 20-second pieces of content.
Yeah.
I'll post it if you want. You can actually, through Instagram, if you want to do it, I could collaborate and it'll post on yours. If you even want to, I can send you it so you could post it. But either way.
No, you can certainly collaborate that way. It gives you the benefit as well. So are you going to post anything? Are you just going to mainly use it on Instagram, or are you going to actually post it on Apple? Or
it'll be YouTube. It'll be Instagram. So YouTube will be the whole thing. Instagram will be short form, like teasers. And I might put shorts in YouTube, like little clips. And then I was I still have to play with it, but I was thinking, do I even do Apple and Spotify? Would you recommend doing it? Is that what you guys do?
Can't hurt you.
Yeah.
So the Spotify takes a little while and Apple takes a little while longer they have to vet you kind of type thing.
Gotcha.
So anyway, I don't know of anybody they've ever turned down, but it just takes there's a process. So when we went out with our first episode, it was 2 weeks before we showed up on Apple.
Gotcha.
So just so you know that.
Okay. There's some real estate guys, they do YouTube only and they're killing it. So I was just I want to at least see it, and then at least I can throw trailers out here or there, bite-sized pieces on Instagram.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited. No, seriously, I've especially when it's a lot that you're looking at and it's kind of those 1/4 acre lots and you're kind of close to the fence and you're can I put anything here? I mean, we've seen them where it's there's a little bit of a wall and a shelf and there's a water, kind of a water feature.
Right.
And it's just a lounge pool. So we've seen them do it, but.
So I'll show you the one that I was talking about in Westlake.